I think the United States is attractive to global mobility programs because there's a lot of great companies that are headquartered here or have a large presence here. And so a lot of revenue is generated in the United States. All things considered, there's a pretty good, education system, and I think it really goes back to the American dream for a lot of individuals. I think there's an influx of immigration into the country for good reason. And so it creates a nice opportunity for individuals or later their dependents who will be possibly growing up in the United States down the road.
Well, I say normally that there is Brazil and Latin region and there's the world. Because we are really different, and I can say that we are new to the mobility world. We are starting to shift how we work mobility. We are leaving the operational side, or just providing a visa, or just doing relocation. When you're talking about talent, we are brought to the discussion of talent around the globe within the company. So, on a global mobility professional level, we are attractive because we are trying things for the first time. We are changing the way we do things. We are shifting our mindset to a more strategic one. And for people who wants to work here as an expatriate in Brazil, we are changing everything that we do.
First of all is the cultural richness that Mexico brings. We have this very culturally diverse location, even within Mexico as a country. So you would see people not having the same background when you go from north to south, going to center Mexico. So that allows for additional diversity and inclusion when it comes to global mobility, even when you move people within the same country. And when you talk about cross-border, it definitely brings growth to the table. One thing that I've seen in my experience is that when companies enter Mexico, they realize that as Mexico as a culture likes to have their branding. And with that, companies that have been successful in entering the country as a business have differentiated their business locally through a specific branding. And that has enabled, I think, the country to be continuously growing, continuously changing. And that is, I think, one of the key things of why global mobility is so interested in also entering the country.
I think historically the Canadian government has been very open to immigration coming into Canada, and it dates back to Pierre Elliott Trudeau having an open immigration policy back in the 70s. So I know for myself personally, my parents came into this country because of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and saw the potential in terms of them improving their lives back then. So I think it's just historically been something that is part of the Canadian heritage, is just being open to other cultures coming into Canada.
It was one of the easier countries to be able to get into. There are many different types of visa options available for different types of employees around the world. So the U.S. immigration system is vast. Those are some of the key benefits. Some of the U.S. immigration work visas have benefits that allow spouses to work. So that's definitely a big attraction for assignees who look to the U.S. To take part in assignments here in the U.S.
I think the U.S. is an attractive destination, because I think for a lot of employees, they see coming to the U.S. as well. They're coming to corporate, right? There's a lot of corporate headquarters here. So, the U.S. allows them that exposure to working closer to the parent company or to where the corporate headquarters is located. I think also from a destination perspective, there's a lot of opportunity within the U.S. for the individual employee as well as their families, both from an educational perspective, from a recreational perspective. I think the U.S. is, depending on where you go, New York is very different from California, so there's a lot of variety within where you go within the U.S. as well.
So I would say that obviously a new company that's establishing themselves in the U.S. is going to want to have a really strong presence, and they're going to want to bring the best talent in. So I believe that mobility has a key role to play in bringing that talent together. And I know in the current environment that we're in, and maybe even going forward, there's going to be a lot more remote working, but there's something to be said about being face-to-face and being able to collaborate and innovate. And I love we call it serendipitous interactions that happen that you might not expect. So I think mobility is key. As some company might be building out in the US, like how do they bring all that talent together? How do they create that sense of culture and being, and how do they create that innovation for whatever product it is or service that they're offering?
I think the U.S. is popular from a headquarters perspective just because of the talent. There is a lot of really great talent in the U.S. You find that even foreign nationals from India, from China, from Europe want to come to the U.S. and learn at our universities. So the talent pipelines, there's just a lot of really great talent to choose from.
I think the main thing is that, a lot of big companies are based in the United States. They're global companies who are looking for global expansion. They're interested of opening offices around the world, and with this desire to expand globally, we have this strong need to send assignees to different locations, which they can help us, open new offices or transfer knowledge to the local populations, local hires in this country. So I think that's one of the reasons why global mobility is really, most of the companies here in the United States now have a global mobility department because it's a very important, function for the business.
The USA is such a melting pot of different industry organizations that global mobility has thrived here because there are so many organizations delivering different kinds of programs, and they all network together and share ideas in order to further the industry and advance the different policy types and service delivery models and be innovative when it comes to creating solutions for situations that have never happened in the past history of global mobility. So I would say that the U.S. is really it's a great location for the advancement of global mobility and for educating the industry and being a standout leader when it comes to global mobility and what it should entail.